Okay, everyone, welcome to our new course, Jewpernatural. This is a unique kind of course compared to other JLI courses that focus on philosophy or medical ethics or Jewish history or Kabbalah. This is a little departure from the style to more the supernatural, the paranormal, and 4 lessons. And there's a lot of interest. People are very curious in this topic in these days. Hi, Audrey. So we'll start off with the joke. There's a woman wakes up her husband and says, I've had the most fantastic dream. In the dream, you bought me the most beautiful, gorgeous, expensive earrings. What could be the meaning of it? He winks. He says, you'll find out tonight. And sure enough, he walks in the house with a beautiful gift bag. And in the gift bag is a beautifully wrapped box. And she pulls off the ribbon, opens the box to find a book, The Meaning of Dreams. Right? So the reason we're starting off with the topic of dreams is because dreams is something that affects all of us. If you've had a dream, raise your hands. All of us. So the other lessons, some people are more interested, some less, but this class will walk away with practical techniques on understanding the meaning of your dreams and what to do about the dreams. Should you act based on the dreams? Should you change your life decisions based on dreams? Can you control what happens in your dreams? These kind of questions will resolve today. And the beauty of it is we have a deep framework of Jewish tradition that speaks a lot about dreams. And we'll explore that today. Before we go into specifically about dreams, let's take a quick poll about certain paranormal activities. So if you're uncomfortable, you don't have to raise your hand for anything, but just to get a flavor, a taste for where people are holding in the class. Before we do that, let's just everyone go around, announce your name so we can understand who's in the audience. So we'll start with. Okay, good.
My name is Madeline Abergel.
This is the rabbi. This is the Chabad I used to go to.
Gail Newman.
They can't hear us. They can't hear us.
I can hear you. Raymond, I can hear you.
Sorry
Welcome.
about that.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. But I can't see you, Raymond. Put on your video. We'd love to see you. Rachel Sala. Okay, let's get our online viewers. Say your name so everyone can know who's on the class. So we'll start with, I don't know if everyone sees the same order of the screen. We'll start with Joel. Joel, introduce yourself.
I'm Joel Verstandig. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Who's with you, Doctor?
Okay. Hi, I'm Rochelle Verstandig, Joel's lovely wife.
Good, it's an honor.
It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Okay.
Hope to learn a lot about this topic.
Stan, then introduce yourself.
I'm Stan Verstandig. I'm Joel's younger brother.
Okay. And who's last? Last but least? You're a mute. You're a mute.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Genya Tao, and I've been doing JLI for, I think, since the beginning, many years ago. Love it.
And who is CSI partner at AOL.com? Introduce yourself. Say hello.
That's me, Rabbi Raymond Poulat. I used to come to your shul in Woodbury. Now I am in Florida. Nice to see some familiar faces and meet everybody.
Excellent. Welcome, welcome. So truly we're going across state lines. We have Stan and Raymond. Okay. So let us begin. To frame, let's take a quick poll. If you believe in the paranormal, raise your hand. Okay. Everyone, fantastic. Do you believe in spiritual energy?
Yes.
Wow. Do you believe in psychics?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe in ghosts and spirits?
No.
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe in communication with the dead? Fantastic. Okay. Do you believe in dream interpretation?
Yes.
Yes,
Do you believe in reincarnation?
yes,
Do you believe in reincarnation? That was a
Yeah.
joke. Okay. Do you believe in astrology?
is that a joke? No.
Yes.
Yes,
Do
but
you
it's,
believe? Okay, go ahead.
no, I was going to say that there's a sentence in somewhere in Tanakh or something that says that astronomy exists, but Jews are not controlled by it.
Astrology.
Okay. Do you believe in life on other planets?
No.
I don't believe in life
Okay.
on this.
It's
Do we have-
mathematically impossible for there to not be life on other planets.
Okay, so we have a good mix of different varied from cynic to believers and everywhere in between. And we're going to get a good, authentic Torah wisdom on these topics. So today, let's start off by framing the question of the class by watching a short video on dreams and direction. So there's a survey, belief in paranormal phenomena amongst US adults in spiritual energy is 42%, in psychics, 41%, in reincarnation is 33%, in astrology, 29%, belief in at least one of the four entities above is 62%. So 62% of Americans believe in the paranormal to some extent. And that's pretty consistent. What we find here is the majority of the room felt in some degree in the paranormal. They believe in the things that cannot be measured scientifically, or maybe there's not a lot of data around it. And this is rising. Why might it be rising? Maybe people feel the world is more in chaos and they want to get a sense of control. There's generally a deeper interest in these topics today. And so you can look in the student book, you'll find statistics from other countries as well, belief in the paranormal.
"900 feet long, 175 feet from keel to funnel, bearing over 2,000 souls, including several of the world's wealthiest. Experts had crowned it the unsinkable, and it was making good time on its maiden voyage. One Jewish man, though, battled a feeling of unease. Isaac Frauenthal was born in Pennsylvania in October 1868, on the Jewish festival of Hoshana Rabbah, meaning Great Salvation. He opened a law practice in New York, and in March 1912, he traveled to Nice, France, to attend his brother Henry's wedding to Clara Rogers. The newlyweds journeyed on to the English port city of Southampton to ride the luxurious Titanic back to New York. And why not? A new life, a new ship, a liner predicted to live happily ever after. Isaac chose a scenic route through France, boarding the Titanic at Cherbourg the day after Passover. He paid today's equivalent of $4,000 for a first-class ticket. But he was jittery. Days earlier, he had an awful dream. He saw himself aboard a colossal steamship that crashed headlong into something large and began to sink beneath the waves. He awoke shaken, but dismissed the dream because he believed neither in dreams nor the supernatural. The night before boarding, his dream reoccurred. An oceanic collision, helplessly sinking. Escape, escape. But the sun rose, and so did he. A lot less certain than before. Was there anything to this? Should he board the Titanic? Should he share his dream? No, they would mock him. The ship was unsinkable. Isaac quietly boarded the Titan of the sea, but he later found a moment to share his fearful vision. As expected, he was roundly ridiculed. Until 4 nights later, when, at 11:40 on April 14th, the ship's lookout spotted a colossal iceberg dead ahead. The Titanic reversed its mighty engines and lurched to the left, but its starboard was lacerated. Ice tore into steel, and water dragged the ship's throat downwards. Isaac heard the captain express terror and ran to rouse Henry and Clara. Too many passengers refused to abandon ship at midnight, unable to believe that a lifeboat was safer than an Olympic liner. But Isaac had seen this vessel sink twice already. As he rolled into a lifeboat, he said, "Well, Henry, I wasn't so foolish, was I?" Henry wasn't sure. Surely such an engineering wonder could remain afloat until it could be repaired or towed. But the Titanic's stern rose into the air with hundreds clinging on. Snapping clean in two, the vessel plunged into the eternal silence of a bottomless ocean. 1,500 souls were lost. A nightmare, a reality, in the heart of the night. One sunrise and 6 hours later, Isaac was hoisted aboard the Carpathia, which sailed on to New York. He no longer doubted that something had forewarned him about the disaster. Isaac Frauenthal dismissed his disturbing dreams and sailed aboard the Titanic. If you had been in his position, would you have done the same?
Okay, so let's take a moment to think about that. If you had those vivid dreams, would you dismiss them or would you act upon them? Change a flight, cancel exit from a relationship? What would you do based on a dream? Act upon it. Every dream?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Two times the same dream, I would listen to the dream.
Yeah, that's scary.
okay,
I agree.
okay, okay, very good. So act on every dream, act if it repeats twice. Okay, this puts us in good framework. So let's turn to page 5 and do the exercise. Answer 2 questions. If you can have one of those.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think over next to the flower pot, there might be a pen over there. So if you have you ever had a dream that seemed very real to you? And if yes, how did you respond to it? And 2, what criteria do you use to determine whether you take a dream seriously? Stan, go ahead.
Is this just dreams? Because sometimes you have that little voice in your head, and I found out every time I haven't listened to it, I've been sorry that I didn't. For example, one time I parked my car in New York and this little voice in my head said, "Don't park here." I moved the car. Later on, when I came back to go to my car, a truck had grabbed the bumper of the car that was parked where I had originally parked and dragged it down the street, taking about 4 cars with it. So I was glad
Wow.
I listened to that little voice in my head that day.
Wow, unbelievable. Okay. So what's amazing is that he actually he made it onto the boat. Him and his brother and sister-in-law, they made it onto the boat because he was already primed to be saying something might be happening. And so as soon as there was a chance to get into a boat, he made sure it happened. The other patients, they said, whatever, the boat is not sinking, so let the woman go first. But he wasn't having it. For him, this whole ship is sinking. So, okay.
Rabbi,
Yes.
since Joel is a psychologist, he once told me something which I think is very relevant, which is that if you have a dream and maybe it's upsetting or something, think about the emotions that went on during the dream. It's not so much about the physical things that are happening in the dream, but the way that you feel. Like if it's a dream about and you feel very anxious, that might mean that you have anxiety about something, not necessarily related to the specific visions that you see in your dream. So
Right? The first book by the founding father of psychology, Sigmund Freud, was a book on dreams. And that was a big part of Sigmund's work on, dreams help us uncover what's lying in the subconscious, so yeah, so he's Jewish, but he doesn't represent necessarily the Jewish attitude. We're going to see fascinating, the Jewish take. So when you think of Judaism and dreams, where do we find dreams in Judaism? Jacob and the ladder. Very good. Where else? So let's take a look at the graph on page 6. We have an accounting of some famous biblical dreams that happen. The entire second half of the book of Genesis has a total of 7 dreams. So dreams are an important part of the Jewish story, specifically the founding of the Jewish family. Abraham Jacob had a vision, had a dream with a vision, and Joseph has a vision. Let us turn to a specific incident, a specific set of dreams. And that's the dream of Pharaoh. Pharaoh has 2 dreams. If you look on the top, I have a different book, but I think it's the top right. Pharaoh, page 7. So 2 dreams that he has. In his first dream, he sees 7 fat cows emerging from the Nile, and then 7 skinny, scrawny cows emerge from the Nile, and they eat the fat cows and they remain skinny. And in the second, he wakes up, he doesn't know what the interpretation of the dream is, he goes to sleep, and he has another dream. And in the second dream, there's 7 healthy kernels or ears of grain, and they are replaced or swallowed by 7 shriveled ears of grain. And he's wondering, what's the interpretation? Well, Egypt was famous for its experts and scientists, and in those days, scientists and astrology and paranormal and spirituality, it was all one field. If you were the expert, if you're a wise person, you were in the field of chemistry, and everything was all interconnected. So he asked his wise men, what do these dreams mean? And they tried this explanation and that explanation, and he was not satisfied. He said, these interpretations don't feel right. They don't feel true to the message of the dream. And there was a butler who came to Pharaoh and he said, remember you threw me in prison a few years ago, and then you took me out? You know what led up to me getting out was I had a dream together with the baker in prison. We were both in prison, and I had a dream and the baker had a dream. And there was this Jewish boy who interpreted the dreams for us. And as he interpreted the dreams, that's what happened. I went free 3 days later on your birthday, and the baker was hung, as Joseph predicted. And he told me that as soon as I get out, I should remember him, but I forgot about him. But now I remember. So they pulled the Jewish boy out of prison, Joseph, and he interprets the dream. What do we see from the story? Number 1, we see that dreams have significance. Number 2, we see that just because they're significant, you don't always know how to interpret. And sometimes it's quite difficult to interpret correctly. And you need the right interpreter. And Joseph was the right person. And ultimately he said the 7 fat cows represent 7 years of plenty that Egypt will have, followed by 7 years of deep hunger. And the dream is trying to tell you also the solution, that the cows are standing side by side. That means in the years of plenty, you should plan for the years of hunger. You should start storing and keeping for the years of hunger. And he saved the Egyptian economy, and he actually made Egypt a superpower, because all the other lands in the area that didn't prepare for the years of famine, they had to come to Egypt and give over all their money and all their possessions and become slaves to Egypt. And that's how Egypt became so powerful. Let's take a look at another dream of Joseph. Years earlier, how did Joseph end up in Egypt? The way he ended up in Egypt was his brothers sold him as a slave to Egypt. Why would they do something like that? Because he used to tell them dreams, and they felt very threatened by his dreams. What were his two dreams? In his first dream, he's looking up. Which one is the first dream? The sheaves or the stars?
The sheaves.
The sheaves. So in the first dream, he's the brothers are in the field, and the sheaves of the other tribes of Israel, Joseph's other brothers, are bowing down to Joseph's sheep. So he says, oh, this is telling us that in the future, I will be in charge of all the brothers. Now, Joseph was one of the youngest, and he wasn't from Leah, he was from Rachel. And so the other brothers felt very threatened. They're like, oh no, this is another example of a son of one of the patriarchs kicking out the other one. We have Isaac and Ishmael. Ishmael's the older one, but the older one gets rejected. We have Esav and Jacob. Esav is the older one, and Esav kind of gets rejected as the chosen one. And here comes Joseph, and he's making a similar claim that Joseph is going to be the leader, and the older siblings will get rejected. This was very threatening. So they said, we have to get rid of him. He had another dream. In the dream, he saw stars, 10 stars, 11 stars, and the sun and the moon bowing down to him. Said, what does this reflect? That you'll bow down to me, and my mother and father will bow down to me. And sure enough, did it come true? Yes. When the brothers needed food and came down to Egypt to get food, they didn't recognize Joseph as the monarch, as the deputy, as the viceroy to Egypt. And so they bowed down to him. So what do we see here? The dream came true. Dreams have meaning. But there's one small detail that we should read about in text 2. Shelley, if you can read for us text 2 on page 8.
Rabbi Yochanan taught in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, just as there can never be wheat without chaff mixed in, so too there can never be a dream without nonsense mixed in. Rabbi Berechiah taught, even though part of a dream may be fulfilled, the entirety of the dream is never fulfilled. The source for these statements is found in the story of Joseph's dreams. Joseph dreamed that the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me, referring to his parents and 11 siblings. Genesis 37, verse 2. Yet, at the time of the dream, Joseph's mother was already deceased.
Okay, so they tell us, take dreams should be treated seriously. However, every dream has some nonsense in it, and every dream will never fully be fulfilled. You know, my great uncle was once telling everyone that the ship is going to sink, the Titanic is going to sink, and they were quieting him down and they were ignoring him, but he wouldn't let up. He said, I'm telling you, it's going to sink, until they threw him out of the theater. Anyone get it? Okay, you're watching a movie. Okay, it's a joke. But what's the point here? Every dream has a little bit of truth. A little bit, it sounds like a lot of truth, a little bit of nonsense mixed in. So did the dream become true with Joseph? Mostly. His mother wasn't alive when Joseph had the dream. And yet somehow in the dream, he's visualizing that his mother's bowing down to him. Okay, so we see that dreams have meaning, but it doesn't automatically equate to us knowing the meaning. We also see some dreams are meaningful. How do we know not all dreams are meaningful? Because we don't know that every dream is recorded in the Torah. Only the ones that are meaningful are recorded in the Torah. All the other dreams that people dreamt about, maybe they didn't have meaning, or they didn't have meaning to us. They're not significant to the Jewish story or to the future. Dream interpretation is not simple, and dreams are not ever entirely accurate. So where does that leave us? How do we know what to do? So let's explore this a little further. And now we're going to move away from the Bible, from Genesis, and we're going to move to the Talmud. And we'll see what the Talmud has to say about it. And interestingly, the Talmud spills a lot of ink on this topic. So let's take a look at text 3. Audrey, read for us text 3 and text 4. Let's start with text 3. Yeah.
Okay, you're going to read from more.
Just from the text, from a dream. Dreams and
Oh, a dream is 1/60th of prophecy.
okay, a dream is 1/60th of prophecy. Now, what's the significance when we say a dream is 1/60th? So let's first answer the other question. What is prophecy? Prophecy is a Jewish belief that Jews believe that God sometimes gives direct information to human beings through prophecy. So God communicates with human beings. Most of us today don't have prophecy. In fact, the Talmud said that most prophecy ended in the time of the second temple era. But it says, as we get closer to Mashiach, even fools will be speaking prophecy. In the times of from Moses till the second temple's destruction, you had to be on a very elevated level to receive prophecy. You had to work on yourself. You had to be a mensch. You had to be a good person and refined in character and no ego and selfless and in a happy state, a joyful state to receive a prophetic vision. In the time closest to Mashiach, even foolish people will have prophecy. So a dream can be a way for God to communicate a message to you. 1/60th. 1/60th of a dream is prophecy. Now, what's the significance of 1 in 60? In Jewish law, let's say in kosher law, you can't mix milk and meat. What happens if you're cooking a soup and accidentally some milk falls out of the microwave, some cheese falls out of the microwave into your chicken soup? What do? Can you eat this soup or you have to throw everything out? Do you have to kosherize the pot? Well, you call up the rabbi and the rabbi will tell you exactly how much milk fell into the soup. Was it more than a 60th or less? If it's less than a 60th, then it's considered insignificant, has no meaning. If it's a 60th, then you have to spill out the soup, right? So 60th means it has some significance. And so we say dreams are 1 in 60th prophecy. That means there's a part, it's a small amount, but it's a significant amount. It's not an amount that should be discarded. So let's take a look at just a sampling you see in text 11 and on page 11, page 11, where you see a sampling of the Talmud's description of certain things that you might see in your vision and what the meaning of that might be. And this is just a sampling. So clearly you see in the Talmud, dreams are significant. And what you see in your dreams is telling you a message. Let's take a look at let's just choose one example. You see, if you pause for a second, if you think seeing a snake in your dream, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Think bad, but that's not what the Talmud says. The Talmud says, you see a snake in your dream, what does that mean? The dreamer will find their livelihood with ease, just like a snake crawls around and has food available because it eats the dust of the ground. So it always has easy access to food. If the snake bit the dreamer, it signifies a doubling of livelihood. If the dreamer killed the snake, it signifies that their livelihood is ruined. Okay. Somehow dreams symbolize easy access to livelihood. Anyways, the Talmud spells a lot of ink. And if you want to see more, go look up the source that they provide here. But you could read the rest of this after class. Let's take another example of on text 4, another place in the Talmud where we see the significance and importance of paying attention to dreams. So let's get an online student to read for us. Rochelle, read for us text 4.
Yeah, page 14.
Page 14.
Okay. Rabbi Yehoshua, the son of Rav Idi, visited the home of Rav Ashi. His host prepared a third-born calf and offered it to him to eat. Rav Ashi responded, "I am observing a fast." They countered, "Do you agree with the ruling of Rav Yehuda that a person may break a self-imposed fast and repay his obligation by fasting on a different day? Rav Ashi replied, this fast is due to a bad dream. Rav Bar Mechasaya taught in the name of Rav Chama Bar Gurya, who taught in the name of Rav, that a fast nullifies the portents of a bad dream like fire consumes flax. And Rav Chisida stipulated that the fast is most effective when observed on the day of the dream. Rav Yosef added that such a fast may even be observed on Shabbat.
Okay, so let's break down this snippet because it has a lot of important information. So first of all, the third born calf, that's just apparently the first two calves are not considered, they're more tough. The third child, somehow they're extra soft and mellow. Fine. Now, let's focus on the important details here. They offer him food to eat, and this is a delicacy. They prepare it in his honor. He says, I can't, I'm fasting. Okay, so push off the fast. You'll fast tomorrow. You don't have to fast today. It's such a treat. It only comes once in a while. So he says, no, the dream for when you're fasting for a bad dream, you have to do it on the day that you had the dream. That's when the fasting and prayers are most effective. Okay, and that helps when you fast and pray, you can correct the dream to make it positive, or at least not negative. So what do we see from here? First of all, dreams are not deterministic. Just because you had a dream that tells you information about something that will happen doesn't mean it has to happen. You can do something to change that negative outcome. What can you do? You can fast, you can pray, you could examine your character, you could do things to change the trajectory of the dreams. Another significant thing, on Shabbat, there's a mitzvah to enjoy Shabbat. So fasting is a no-no. There are many fast days on the Jewish calendar, but if they fall out on Shabbat, we push it off to Sunday, except for Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av. All the other fast days, if it happens on Shabbat, you do it earlier or you do it later. The fast before Purim, the fast after Rosh Hashanah, the fast of the 17th of Tammuz, all the different fast days, we don't do it on Shabbat. But apparently, the weight of the seriousness of taking you had a bad dream and you have to correct it is so important that we say, hey, for you, fasting on Shabbat will bring more enjoyment than you being paralyzed and not being able to do anything about your terrible dream. So we allow you to fast on Shabbat to redirect the outcome of the dream. Okay? So far, what we see from here, and in text 5 is just from Pidron Chalomot, which is a book dedicated to the interpretation of dreams, and he basically teases out and he mentions all these information that I already told you that dreams are not deterministic. You can change the direction of the dream. So far, a reading of the Talmud gives you the impression that dreams should be taken seriously. There's a trace of prophecy in every dream. In fact, great rabbis have fasted when they had bad dreams to affect the outcome of their dream. So far, so good. But let's take a look at text 6, and you'll see that we go into an entirely different contradictory direction in the Talmud. This is a fascinating episode. Maddie, you ready for us? Okay, so text 6 on page 17.
Shmuel Bar shown in their dreams the products of their own thoughts. The Roman emperor once said to Rabbi Yehoshua, the son of Rabbi Hananiah, "You Jews claim to be very wise. Tell me then, what will I see in my dream tonight?" Rabbi Yehoshua replied, "You will see the Persians capture and enslave you and force you to herd pigs with a golden scale." The emperor thought about this vision all day, and at night he saw it in his dream. King Shapur once said to Shmuel, "You Jews claim to be very wise. Tell me then, what will I see in my dream tonight?" Shmuel replied, "You will see the Romans take you captive and force you to grind date pits with a golden mill." The king thought about this vision all day, and at night he saw it in his dream.
So what does this tidbit tell us? So this tidbit tells us that dreams are really a product of the power of suggestion. Whatever you're thinking about obsessively in the day, that's what you'll be dreaming about at night. So it comes out, do your dreams have any meaning? No, it has as much meaning as the meaning that you have when you obsess over something. When you obsess over the fact that your friend didn't text you back, and you obsess and you go into details. What does it mean? Does she not like me anymore? Does she hate me? What should I do? And then you have a dream, and that night your friend comes to you and says, I hate you, and I won't forgive you. Does it have any meaning? No. You were just obsessing about it in the day, so that's what you're going to think about at night. So here we have two stories, and the background of these two sages is they lived in different times. One lived in Israel during the Roman, when the Romans were in power, and one lived in Babylon 200, 300 years later when the Persians were in power, but they each felt threatened. The Romans felt threatened by the Persians, and the Persians felt threatened by the Romans. So each one played on that. They gave very detailed, exactly the way that you're going to be tortured. So that helped them obsess about it during the day. And so the sages used this power of suggestion to control what people will think about and dream about during the night. Go ahead, Maddie.
Titanic. So he was going on this trip and he was thinking about it a lot. The year about it. So he was thinking about it a lot, maybe considering on that. So, and then he had a dream about it. It's a negative dream. Maybe he was nervous. So how really when
We're getting there. Hold on. Hold on. We're getting there. So we see there's contradictory information. Dreams are prophetic. Dreams are nonsense. Whatever you thought about during the day, that's what you're going to dream at night. Let's look at another text, at text 7. And this is a fascinating text. Let's get Genya, if you can read for us text 7 on page 19.
Sure. A person was troubled by the whereabouts of money that his deceased father left for him. He dreamed that his father told him exactly how much money it was and where it could be found, but that it was consecrated as Maser Sheni. He went to the specific place and indeed found the specific sum of money. The sages instructed this person that the contents of dreams are irrelevant, and he need not treat the money as Maser Sheni.
So let's give a background. What is Maser Sheni? The Torah tells us that farmers in Israel have to give 10% of their produce to the Levites, and then a second 10th to poor people in year 1, 2, 4, and 5 of the sabbatical. What do you do in year 3 and 6? In year 3 and 6, you take that second tithe, that Maser Sheni. Maser means tithe, Sheni the second. That second tithe that normally you give to the poor people. Instead, you take all that food, you bring it to Jerusalem, and you make a celebration in Jerusalem. And this was a way of making sure that there wasn't like two classes. The Levites were in Jerusalem doing their thing, and the farmers and the working class were here. The Torah wanted that there should be a connection, that, you know, the farmers feed the economy in Jerusalem, and the Jerusalemites use their spiritual wealth and share it, and to inspire the farmers. Okay, what happens if you were a very successful farmer? You have a lot of food. You're not ready to bring so much produce all the ways to Jerusalem. It's a huge undertaking. And what are you going to eat? You know, so much food in one day. So what would you do? You could sell all this produce for money in the town that you live. Now this money becomes Maser Sheni, second tithe money. So you cannot use it to do whatever you want. There's only one thing you could do with it, is bring it to Jerusalem and buy food over there. And you buy food over there and you eat it over a day, over a week, over a month. You share it with the other people there. So now in this dream, the son knew that his father had a certain sum of money. He didn't know where it was left, where it was hidden. And the father told him, oh, I'll tell you exactly where it's hidden, but you should know that you can only use it in Jerusalem because it's Maser Sheni. You can't just buy whatever you want with it. You have to buy food and eat it in Jerusalem. He goes to that place, exactly where his father told him the money was. He finds the money. And what did the sages tell him? It's nonsense. This is not Ma'aser Sheni. You found money. When you find money, do you assume that it's consecrated money? No. You assume money is money. You can do whatever you want with it. Don't take dreams so seriously. They're nothing. They're nonsense. Whoa. What are we reading here? The Talmud in text 3 and 4 are telling us that dreams are significant. They're prophetic. You can fast on Shabbat to avert the severity of your dream. And the text that we read here is dreams are just power of suggestion, manipulation from whatever you were thinking about during the day. Dreams have no significance. And they're telling Tim about a dream where he went to where the money was. And they say, dreams are nonsense. Now, how do we resolve this contradiction? You know who resolves the contradiction? The Talmud. The Talmud itself resolves its contradiction, but it doesn't ask the contradiction on itself. Instead, it turns to biblical texts that seem to be contradicting themselves. Let's go to text 8. Text 8, Gail, you can read first. Okay, Sharon, text 8.
It says, I speak with the prophet in a dream, Numbers 12, 6. But a second verse states, dreams speak falsely, Zechariah 10:2. The Talmud resolves this. There are two types of dreams. Some come by means of an angel, and some come by means of a demon.
Okay, it says, in one verse, it says, I speak with prophets in a dream. In fact, all prophecies took place in dreamlike states, except for Moses. Moses was the only prophet that was able to experience his prophecy while he was awake. All other prophets were in a dreamlike state when they were happening. That's when God speaks to people, is in their dreams. And yet, in other verse, dreams speak falsely. So how do we reconcile it? It depends if it comes from angelic or demonic forces. So there's your answer. Is that really satisfy us? How do we know if our dreams are coming from an angelic source or a demonic source? How would we know? And first of all, what do we mean when we say angelic forces, demonic forces? What does that even mean? Do Jews really believe in demons and things like that? So a deep analysis of this is dedicated, I think, in lesson 4 or lesson 3 about angels and demons. But quickly, let's go through what we know about angels and demons. Angels represent positive spiritual forces. They don't have any independent will. Angels are a technology. They're a technology God uses to bring spiritual flow of blessing from above to below, as well as to bring our spiritual things above. So they're messenger technology that brings divine messages, divine blessing from God to the world. And they bring our prayers to God, or our love and fear to God. So they're an interface technology. That's what angels are. And they occupy the heavenly realm where our souls visit while we sleep. So when we go to sleep, we have another statement that sleep is 1/60th of death. So we have another time, 1/60th. What does that mean? When a person dies and passes away, their soul gets separated from their body. And their soul goes on to live their spiritual journey, return back home, go to heaven, where they belong, and the body returns to dust. When we go to sleep, part of our soul, 1/60th, a small amount, leaves our body, and while it's up in heaven, the angels give it some insight. You start seeing things from above. Think about it this way. Imagine you're in a box, a refrigerator box, and there's a bunch of holes in it, and you're looking out in the holes, and that's your prism of reality. You see very little of reality. You don't see the full reality. Well, that's what our body is. Our body is a vessel for our soul, but only has two holes over here, 2 holes over here, 2 holes in the nose. It has very limited access to understanding the deep reality and the spiritual reality that's contained in this world. When the soul goes up to heaven, it starts to see things in high definition. And so it gets tremendous insight. And that's why, hopefully, if you had a good night's sleep, you wake up refreshed, recharged, re-energized. You don't have all the baggage from yesterday that's clouding you and dragging you down. So in that sense, if dreams are coming from this place, then they're good, they're positive. And even if they're telling you of negative events, but they're coming from a positive place, it's instructive, it's clarifying. In fact, many sages use this tool to answer their questions. If they had deep, challenging questions about how to resolve a certain Jewish issue, they would write it down, put it under their pillow. They would ask God to answer the question in the dream. And very often they would wake up the next day and they had an answer to their question. Brilliant. However, there are also demonic forces. Okay, these are impure spiritual beings. And the way I like to think about it is in your body, you have a place that's extremely acidic and toxic. And it's just moments away from your vital organs. It's your stomach and your bile and your liver. It's very toxic chemicals. But these toxic chemicals are there for a purpose. They're meant to process and clarify and separate the waste from the good. And that's what these demonic forces represent. Whenever someone needs cleansing or processing, so sometimes a soul doesn't ascend to heaven. Sometimes when a person sleeps, their soul needs to go for some cleansing. And so therefore, they're experiencing these horrid dreams. And either these dreams are cleansing for them. That means you suffered in your dream, so you don't have to suffer in real life. That's one possibility. Or the whole purpose is to make you crazy so that you have more difficulty in being positive and joyful, so you're not able to succeed in your mission. That means people who do evil things, God says, okay, if you do evil things, then I'm going to make it more difficult for you to do good things because you chose a path of evil. If you choose a path of positivity, then I'll enable you to continue doing positivity. So you choose a path of negativity, so you'll be distracted by these terrible dreams that will make you doubt everything you do, make you crazy, and so you won't have the clarity to lead life in a productive manner. So that's from this demonic force. So if you have dreams from angels, they're great. If you have dreams from demons, it's a metaphor. So what comes out is that you really have three possible options. Option number one is that it's coming from angels. Those dreams should be taken seriously, and those dreams have significant meaning. Option number two is they're just a product of our imagination during the day. Whatever we are thinking about obsessively during the day, this is a neutral place. That's what we're going to dream about at night. Option number three, it's an experience of this demonic experience, which is meant to drive you crazy. And either that itself is cleansing, you went through it during your dream, so you don't have to experience that cleansing in real life, or it's meant to disturb your path of being productive and being a good, successful Jew, doing your mission in life, because you're conflicted with this terrible agony. So now we have some clarity, but do we really have some clarity? How do we know if our dream is a product of an angel or a demon or imagination? How would you know? So when we say that dreams speak falsehood, that's referring to dreams that come from our imagination or come from the demonic forces. When the verse that says dreams are miniature prophecies, that refers to dreams that come from angels. So how do we identify the source of a dream and assess how seriously it can be taken? So let's just let's read text 9 and 10 just to see inside the technology that's happening when a person goes to sleep and why they're dreaming from angelic sources. You can read first text 10, not text 9.
In general terms, the location of a heavenly person's soul rest at night is commensurate with the spiritual stature they have achieved with their daytime divine service. More specifically, the person observed a mitzvah, studied Torah, or prayed in a more beautiful and complete manner that day, or went to sleep with words or thoughts of Torah on their mind. They merit a loftier location in heaven. The heavenly palace contains hallways, colonnades, lounges, and halls in which the soul can rest when it rises to heaven to draw new life journeys.
Okay, and text 10 from the Zohar.
While a person sleeps, the soul rises to the level of the holy angels and receives certain information, learns new things, and then returns to its place. This is an experience of connection to the holy.
Okay, so here this is when our dreams are productive, when you had a fulfilling day, a meaningful day filled with focus. Your brain is not scattered all over the place. Focus, Torah, mitzvahs, then your dreams will be good and your soul will enter that space. But in text 11, it shows us the alternative option. Can you read first text 11? Yeah.
Each guard of term demon described as negative destructive spirit that afflicts a person. Dreams from this source are meaningless and one should be concerned about themselves.
Okay, so we're left with some clarity that not all dreams should be taken seriously, and some dreams should be taken seriously. If they're angelic dreams, they're prophetic. There might be a little bit of untruth in it, but they're prophetic. Okay? However, demonic dreams, they're just useless. Don't take them seriously at all. So we have two sets of dreams. Who was that, Stan?
Yes. From what they're saying over here, it almost sounds like you're talking about demons, not as demons, another being, but inner demons of that person.
That's right. Ultimately, when we say spiritual realities, it's not a place. So when you say your soul goes up to heaven, where's heaven? It's not in the sky. Heaven it's accessing a deeper dimension of reality, which is a more pure, less detached from godliness. The more materialistic, the more divine reality gets hidden. When your soul goes up to heaven, it has greater access. It's like the soul leaving that box, that refrigerator box. It's able to see the spiritual reality that is contained within our world. So we're not talking about in place. So the same thing when you say demons, we're speaking within our universe. True. Okay. So now again, how do we know? How are we to know which dreams are which? There's different clues that people give. Before we give this answer on the slide, I'll give you, there's a variety of answers that have been suggested by different sages. For example, one sage says, the Abarbanel says, if the dream is very vivid and very real, and you feel it in your bones that it's real, then you know it's an angelic dream. You know to take it seriously. Similarly, there's another sage. I have to look at my notes exactly which sage it is, but he says if you see a dream 3 times, then you know that it's an angelic dream, it's a prophetic dream, you should take it seriously. But there's another answer, and the answer is of the Alter Rebbe, and he says it's less about the type of dream, and it's more about who's dreaming it. Who's the person that's dreaming the dream? If you are a person that are in control of your thoughts, you're not distracted if you know what this reflects, if this means something to you, this gesture, it's the younger generation out here, so you're just swiping on your phone and looking at it. If you're a person that's scattered throughout the day, then you can assume your dreams are meaningless. However, if you're a divinely focused person, your whole day is utilized in the service of the divine and in completing your mission that your soul came down to this world to do, then you assume that your dreams are angelic. So what does that tell us? That for many of us, the dreams shouldn't be assumed to be taken so seriously that you would change, you would do a massive change in your life. all you should do from those dreams is use it as a catalyst to do more good in the world. Let's say a deceased relative came to you in a dream. You say, hey, what can I do to do something in memory of that deceased relative to add some extra strength? Because ultimately, what's the point of a prophetic vision? The whole point is a message from God. But we have a whole message of God that's readily available to us, which is the Torah. So always use dreams, even the demonic dreams or the imagination dreams, always use it and try to use it as a catalyst for becoming a more prophetic person. That means someone who's engaged in the day-to-day life and making sure their life is meaningful and impactful, full of doing good deeds, in prayer, in Torah, in forgiveness, in tshuva, and all the things that the Torah has to tell us. There are few people, and in our generation, it's less and less, but there are a few people that for them, their whole life is angelic. So when they go up to heaven, or when they go to sleep, their dreams are prophetic. So if you take a look at text, let's see if I can find it. Somewhere in the textbook, there's a 2-page foldout of different sages who use dreams as a catalyst to answer different questions they had during the night. Maybe it's in the appendix. Yeah, it's in the appendix on page 40. You can see in page 40 how different sages used dreams to answer their questions, write books based on the dreams that they had. But that's not for most of us. For most of us, we assume that they should just be used as inspiration to do good things, to take the money in our dream and say, this money, I cannot use it because it's Maser Sheni, because that's what it said in the dream. What did the sages say? The verse says, dreams are falsehood. What do you mean dreams are falsehood? That kind of person, they knew that this person, he's not such a divinely inspired person throughout his day-to-day, so you shouldn't take his dreams too seriously. Let's take a look at text. Is it 13? Second. Yeah, let's take a look at text 13. Stan, if you can read for us text 13.
I heard explicitly from my grandfather and teacher of blessed memory that one should not be worried at all about such matters like dreams. The teaching in the Talmud that lent great significance to dreams only apply to people of great spiritual stature whose thoughts are distant from these matters. If this person has an uncharacteristic experience, it must be divinely orchestrated, and it is therefore cause for concern. However, a person whose thoughts regularly wander to such matters has no reason for concern. My grandfather repeated this many times and would dismiss people that were miserable as a result. You should completely ignore this and be joyful.
So if you have a terrible dream, the advice is be joyful. This is really a demonic attack to try to get you paralyzed from doing what you need to be doing. Be joyful. Okay, so let's make it practical. Let's look at Isaac's dream of the Titanic. Should he have changed his plans? If he would have came to a rabbi, they said, are you obsessing on these thoughts the whole day about the dream? Are you obsessing about this trip? Did you spend a lot of money on this trip? Yeah, you're probably just the power of suggestion. Now, it came out exactly what he thought in the dream would happen. Yeah, that can happen. The sages don't say that dreams will never come about true. They just say you don't live your life by what happens in your dreams. The guy found the money. He found the money that his father told him in the dream. They didn't tell him, no, we don't believe that you had such a dream. They never said that. Said, yeah, it could be you had such a dream. And we care very much that consecrated money should only be used for holy purposes. But if you look in the Jewish law books, you can use the money for whatever you want. You want to buy yourself a tux, you want to buy yourself an iPad, you want to buy yourself a new washing machine, go ahead, do whatever you want with the money. And that's what he did. Because for most of us, dreams should not be the way we determine our life. What should be the method? The guidance of Torah. Torah has a lot of answers for us how to lead our life. Yeah.
Months they might work, I had a dream, they didn't show up for work. Guess what? They stayed alone.
We're not saying, so the sages are not would never say you did not have the dream that you said you have. They would just say, if you might have came to the sage the day before and say, should I take this dream seriously? To say, do you know yourself? Are you a person that's deeply focused inside, or are you scattered internally? If you're deeply focused inside, then you should take the dream seriously. Otherwise, you don't have to take it seriously. You want to, as long as it's not disrupting your life or disrupting the people around you, fine, go ahead. No, you could do, if it'll calm you down, make you feel better, don't go to work, take a breather, relax, go to the spa, fine. But they won't, the rabbis say, the verse tells us that dreams speak falsehood and you should not take it seriously. It doesn't mean it never happens. It doesn't mean that it doesn't come about true. They just say, this is not the path, how we determine how to lead our life. So for example, if this Roman emperor decided based on his dream to start a war with Persia, because in his dream, Persia's coming to attack him. So let him preempt it and instead of being defensive, be offensive. Yeah, that would have created chaos in the world for him acting upon his dream. So we have to be careful. What is this dream telling us? If we want to be cautious about it, that's fine, as long as it's not destructive to our life. We shouldn't alter our make major decisions based on dreams. That's the general, unless you're of those people that you can be pretty sure that your dream is from a holy place. And again, this is the Alter Rebbe's position. You want it to, Barbanel says if it feels vivid, that's a way to determine if a dream is real. Or if it happens 3 times, that's a way. So you don't have to stick to the Alter Rebbe. This is just the Alter Rebbe's approach, that it's about who the dreamer is. That's what's most important. Now, we spoke a lot about dreams, but is there anything we can do to control what type of dreams we'll have? So based on what we just said, we said, absolutely. Make your day a meaningful day, and you'll have meaningful dreams. Specifically, there's a special prayer that we say before we go to sleep. And it's a prayer where we ask God to make sure our dreams don't drive us crazy. So it's on the reverse side of Shema. On one side is Shema. The other side, I'll share it in the follow-up email with our digital audience, which is a prayer you can print out. And before you go to sleep, many Jews say this prayer every single night. And it's a prayer where we ask God that our dreams should be calm and good dreams. And it works. It really works. So can we get a volunteer from this crowd to read for us the prayer of the dream? Shelley.
On the other side.
No, yeah, blessed. No, the other side. Yeah. Out loud.
Blessed are you, Lord, our God, King of the universe, who causes the bonds of sleep to fall upon my eyes and slumber upon my eyelids, and who gives light to the apple of the eye. May it be your will, Lord my God, and God of my fathers, to let me lie down in peace and to take me up to a good life and peace. Let my thoughts not trouble me, not bad dreams, not sinful fancies, and may my bed be perfect before you. Give light to my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Blessed are you, Lord, who in his glory gives light to the whole world.
Okay, so this is one blessing that people say, after the Shema, they say this blessing. It's called the blessing of Hamapil. Now, there's another prayer, you can find it in the Siddur, which is also beautiful text to read. It's all about forgiveness. And it's a prayer that we say, it's not on this paper, but you can find it in the prayer book before the bedtime Shema. It's a prayer where we forgive those who hurt us. And that, when we hold the grudges against people, we're really just disrupting our inner world, and we're making sure our inner world isn't peaceful. So it's a prayer where we forgive those who wronged us, and we forgive those who wronged us with financially or relationshiply, and it's a beautiful prayer of forgiveness. That's another thing you can do. There's another thing you can do, which is the Rebbe wrote many times for people to make sure the mezuzah on their door of their bedroom is a kosher one. Get it checked. Make sure that it's still kosher. Maybe when you bought it, it's kosher, but is it still kosher today? In fact, my sister Chaya, whoever knows my sister Chaya, when she was a little girl, she was waking up every night with terror dreams. And my father took off the mezuzah from her door, brought it to the scribe, and sure enough, the mezuzah wasn't kosher. The scribe fixed the mezuzah, or the mezuzah was replaced, and she never had a nightmare dream in that room again. Okay? So the power of a mezuzah. There's one more thing you can do, and this we find is a text in the prayer. Remember, we said that dreams are 1/60th of prophecy. So let's say the dream is foretelling a premonition of something negative that's going to occur in your life. So of course we said you can pray, do tshuva, do Torah, mitzvahs, but there's another prayer that people do, and that is during the priestly blessing. The priestly blessing in Israel is recited by priests, by Kohanim, every single day, or at least on Shabbat. And outside of Israel, it happens on the three major festivals, on Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. You go into a synagogue, the priests come to the front. My family is a family of Kohanim, so we come to the front, and we say a prophecy. What is the prophecy? It's a blessing that God is giving the Jewish people through the vehicle of the Kohanim. And this blessing is called a priestly blessing. It has 3 verses that have exactly 60 letters. Okay? These 60 letters are fully prophecy. So what Jews have come accustomed to do, if they had dreams during the year, or they want to pray for general, that their dreams should be good throughout the year, and this is, every community does this. It's in all the Jewish prayer books. Let's take a look at this text on page let me see if I can find it.
Is it 35, nightmare prevention?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, no. Trying to find a particular prayer. Let me see here.
I think it's what you just read on the dream transformation, text 14.
Text 14.
Yes. And it continues on the second.
Text 14. Perfect. Text 14 on page 29. So text 14, this is a prayer that while the Kohanim are saying, during that time, and specifically they give, if you want to know why that melody is there, why did they sing the melody? Just say the verses, just to say Yevarechacha, Yevarechacha, Hashem, Hashem. Why is the melody there? The melody is there for people to say these prayers before the priests actually say the word. You don't want to, the community is receiving prophetic blessing. They don't want to be taught praying during the blessing. They want to be recipients of the blessing. So the Kohanim do this melody to give time for the community to read these verses. And specifically, this last paragraph is read during the last word when the Kohanim say the word shalom, peace. So since it's more text, so the melody is a longer melody to give more time. They go shalom. Why do they do it so long? They do it even slower in the synagogue. It's for this reason, to give people the time to read this prayer. So let's read text 14. Master of the universe, I am yours and my dreams are yours. I have dreamed a dream and I do not know what it is. May it be your will, my God and God of my fathers, that all my dreams concerning myself or concerning any other Jew shall be for the good. Whether dreams I dreamed about others or whether about myself, or whether others dreamed about me. If they are good dreams, strengthen them and reinforce them, and may they be fulfilled in me and in them like the dreams of Joseph. But if they require a remedy, heal them like Hiskiah, king of Judah, from his illness, like Miriam the prophetess from her leprosy, like Naaman from his leprosy, like the waters of Marah by Moses, and like the waters of Jericho by Elisha. As you change the curse of the wicked Balaam from a curse into a blessing, so shall you change all my dreams concerning myself and concerning all of Israel to good. Guard me, be gracious to me, and favor me. Now, the idea behind this blessing is even in dream, remember we said you need an expert to interpret the dream? They needed Joseph to interpret the dream. The truth is that the dream interpreter has a little bit of power in the result of the dream. Because these dreams, these prophetic visions, you're seeing a higher reality. But sometimes that higher reality, the way it lands in this physical world, come away in a soft way, in a gracious way, or in a harsh way, right? Think about a teacher trying to get his class to behave. He has a goal. The goal is the same. This class is going to get the information to pass the test. But either he could be very strict, or he could be very engaged and think of a creative. It's two approaches. They'll both get the job done. So the dream interpreter, even though he knows what the result of the dream is, and he's supposed to guide on that result, but the way he interprets the dream, if he interprets to the negative, into a harsh way, then the outcome will be harsh. If he interprets it in a positive spin, then the outcome will be positive. So we're talking about the dreams. Most dreams, we said, for most people, take them seriously. But even if you know that there's a dream that is real, it's an angelic dream, you know for a fact, it's so clear, it happened 3 times. You were thinking and you were totally invested in your divine service the whole day. So you know this is a good dream. You know this is a serious dream, and the dream seems to be negative. When you see this prayer, it basically makes that the landing of this dream should be positive. It should be interpreted in a positive way. So like we see by Joseph, he interpreted for the butler in a positive way. And what happened to the butler? Well, everything was good. He interpreted for the baker in a negative way. They seem to have similar dreams, 3s and 3s. And he said, oh, your 3 means in 3 days, the Pharaoh is going to remember you and take you out of prison. Oh, your dream means in 3 days, you're going to be hung by Pharaoh. This had 3, this had 3. So why the different meanings? Say that actually the way the dream interpreter interprets the dream has some power. So when we say this blessing, remember we said this is 1 in 60, but it gets nullified in the 60 letters of the priestly blessing. And so the priestly blessing is a blessing of peace and good and happiness. And so that's what many Jews do as well. Let's read text 15. Text 15. Raymond, are you still with us? Text 15 on page 32. Okay, let's go to.
I am still with you. However, I didn't print everything and I don't have the book.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so Joel, read for us text 15. This is writing of the Rebbe's letter to someone who had a terrible dream about the state of the world. And this was the Rebbe's response to him.
As a general rule, there is no need for instructions to be communicated through dreams. For instruction, God gave each and every one of us the Torah of truth and life, which illuminates the Jew's path in life. When one isn't observing God's instructions given in the Torah, one may sometimes receive a hint regarding this in a dream or the like. It is certain that the message of your dream is not about injustices in the world, in the literal sense, for such issues are completely beyond your ability to rectify. Rather, the straightforward meaning of your dream is clear. You are being shown that you need to be angry about the fact that your world, your personal life, that you exercise full control over, is being conducted unjustly. contrary to divine justice. You must ascend from this mode of conduct through actual day-to-day behavior in accordance with God's instructions as stated in the Code of Jewish Law.
So what the Rebbe is telling him, that God has a more direct way to tell us what he wants, which is his Torah. Sometimes when he sends us a dream, it's just a hint and a reminder to go look what it says in the Torah and do accordingly. And if you look in the appendix as well of this lesson, you'll see additional readings, different letters that the Rebbe responded to many people, because this is an ongoing thing. People had questions to the Rebbe all the time about, I had this dream, I had that dream. And if you look in the Bible, you look in the Talmud, you see many passages that indicate to take them seriously. And the Rebbe is reminding them that there's also other passages in the Torah and that tell us, don't take them seriously. And it really depends who you are or how to interpret the message. If you think the message is to tell you to disrupt your life, no, that's probably not. It's telling you to recommit yourself to your mission in life that your soul came down to the world to do, to make sure you're being kind to your spouse, kind to your children, kind to the people around you, constantly learning, constantly growing. These are the messages that your dreams should inspire you to do. And with that, we conclude, thank God, early lesson 1 on the significance of dreams. And next week, we'll discuss astrology and the zodiac and different signs over there. Let's watch the key point video. So before we go, that's just a summary. Imagination, dreams speak falsehood, likely scenario for wandering minds, and permission is not granted to fast on Shabbat. For most of us, if we had a scary dream, we're not allowed to fast on Shabbat because we assume that your dream is falsehood. But if you know that you're in a very heightened spiritual state, or you saw the dream very clearly or 3 times, then you can maybe assume that it's a miniature prophecy. And some of the information is false, even though there's a miniature prophecy there. But this is a likely scenario for focused spiritual people, and permission is granted to fast on Shabbat, to take it seriously. Either way, because every dream has some falsehood, money stays with the possessor. We don't say, okay, if you're in your dream, you were told that that money that you have in your wallet really belongs to somebody else. Either way, you don't have to act on it, because even a prophetic dream, an angelic dream, also has falsehood within it. So you don't have to do anything drastic to disrupt your life. Reducing nightmares is, we can do that by exerting greater control over daytime thoughts, recite the bedtime Shema and the prayer and the blessing that comes with it, and ensure that the bedroom has a kosher mezuzah.
Lesson 1. Dreams and Direction. 1. The degree of meaning our dreams have correlates with the degree of focus and meaning our daytime thoughts have. People who think with more intentionality have more meaningful dreams. And people whose minds roam without focus experience meaningless dreams. 2. Even if a dream has meaning, not all of its details are accurate or meaningful. Dream interpretation is far from an exact science and can never be considered certain. 3. As a rule, dreams that cause worry and anxiety should be disregarded as meaningless. When dreams do have meaning, their goal is to inspire us to act and improve ourselves. 4. There is no destiny that cannot be changed. Even if we're convinced that a particular dream forebodes negative events, we should know that prayer and mitzvot can change any destiny. 5. Nightmares can be reduced through improving the quality of our daytime thoughts. Firm faith in God and a Jewish bedtime ritual are particularly effective in setting the stage for a peaceful and refreshing sleep experience.
Okay, thank you all for joining. It was lovely to have that feedback, and we'll see you next week, next Wednesday.
Thank you,
Thank
Rabbi.
you so much. That was fantastic.
Yes, very interesting.
Thank you.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So what's the